The Eagles are thoroughly impressed with Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith after OTAs, and now Smith is training with guys like Micah Parsons and Von Miller. Hear what the All-Pros are saying about the Rook. Plus, who can we expect to perform this season in a contract year? But first, let's run it. What's up, guys? In case you're new to the channel, I'm Josh and I cover the birds. Do me a favor and hit that like button, like Nolan Smith hitting the bag, and let's get started. So we begin with the report of the Eagles being highly impressed with Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith following OTAs, and while it's hard to learn much from a defensive lineman, or any position for that matter in OTAs, Dave Zangaro points out that you can learn a little bit, which head coach Nick Sirianni said that the noticeable part was their athletic ability and drill work, since the birds did a lot of 7-on-7s, not team drills, but they did get a lot of individual work in. Sirianni said, "You're seeing the things that we saw obviously on tape of what they do well, the power, their athletic ability, and their personalities." But like the head coach said, they just stuck to 7-on-7 drills. It's not the same type of measuring stick that you get from maybe a skill guy who's getting some team periods with the 7-on-7, but you're seeing the development in the skill and you're seeing their skill in the individual periods with Coach Rocker and Coach Washburn. And while we didn't get to see much of Jalen Carter besides the individual drill work, we did actually get to see a glimpse of Nolan Smith in 7-on-7s, as Bleeding Green Nation reported a couple weeks ago that multiple media members remarked that Nolan Smith was bigger than expected, and it seemed like he was out there for almost every defensive snap, bringing the energy to the table, as one of the most memorable reps was when he ran down Goddard and tried to strip the ball toward the end of a rep, speaking to Smith's work ethic and never say die mentality. Never! Which I've said a number of times, but this dude is my favorite rookie. I love them all before everyone starts hating in the comments, but his energy is electric. And let's not forget the first thing he told Sirianni after he was drafted, saying he's going to prove that he should have been drafted number 1, that he has tremendous work ethic, and the rumors about him being soft are completely false.
Hey, Coach, man, I appreciate it.
Let's get to work. A good response to Howie about the Gators there. Awesome.
Yeah, he want to win, man. Coach, I promise you, with that, I ain't no soft player. I got you.
I know that. We're excited about you.
And one of the many ways Nolan is proving he has insane work ethic and desire to be the best is by training with Micah Parsons and Von Miller. That's right. So if you didn't catch it, the first action Smith took after Eagles OTAs was to head straight to Las Vegas for Von Miller's pass rush summit to work on his craft and learn from some of the best.
Gentlemen, welcome to Las Vegas.
Among the attendees at the camp were Dallas Cowboys Micah Parsons, New Orleans Saints Cameron Jordan, Las Vegas Raiders Max Crosby, Tennessee Titans Jeffrey Simmons, and Seattle Seahawks veteran Bobby Wagner. That's really impressive that Smith got an invite, but if you're not completely familiar with the Von Miller Pass Rush Summit, it's basically an annual event where select rookies and veterans get together to share knowledge, tips, techniques, and build relationships while participating in both on-field drills and film analysis. So think about it. Here you have some of the most prestigious pass rushers in the game all gathering around to critique and provide constructive criticism to each other. And the best part is that guys like Von Miller and Micah Parsons are who Smith has built his game off of, with him saying, "I watch guys like my body type, like Von Miller, Haason, Reddick, and the moves that they use, and just the different things that they do, not only with their hands, but how they bend the edge and use speed to power, and how they set up their moves and play a game within the game." So I focused on the bending at the top of the rush in my game just because I think it helped me get to the quarterback quicker. And also, big guys don't want to get down there and touch you. And it appears the Rook was definitely noticed by his passion and energy at the summit, since Von Miller offered him some unsolicited advice, saying, "You've prayed for this your whole life, but now's the time to go out there and take advantage of this, and go and take it.
This is your time."
Miller isn't the only All-Pro who sees massive potential for Smith, because Micah Parsons was absolutely beside himself when Philly drafted him.
I mean, I love Nolan. Like, I've recruited Nolan to Penn State. Like, I was his host. Like, Nolan's my guy. His ceiling is high. I think for where he's gone, like, you see that production, like what we're talking about, for where he's gone, this is a great pick. And production-wise, it definitely, I think he has a chance to fly through the roof.
Right.
Being in a system where it's going to be more towards him, a 5-man front with Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, and Haason, and Josh, and Fletcher Cox.
I mean, they just got Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham 2.0, right? Like, they just reloaded there.
Yeah, I mean,
My Lord.
I mean, their future's set.
It puts a smile on my face every time. And I know while I hate to give credit to the Cowboys, give credit where credit is due, Micah Parsons is one of the best without question. So the fact that Smith can learn from Parsons, Miller, and the other vets as well just gets me that much more excited to see him in action this season. His Brandon Graham, Energizer Bunny, happy juice personality is contagious.
I want another try. Here we go. 31! 31!
And let's not overlook one of the most important factors here as well. This is all before training camp, where he'll then get to learn from Haason Reddick, who has definitely been putting in the work this offseason. I can only imagine what kind of season he's going to have and put together, especially when you consider that Reddick has had 12.5 sacks with the Cardinals, 11 sacks with the Panthers, and then 16 sacks last season, which Thomas Peterson pointed out we haven't even seen him as a pass rusher with the same team in consecutive years.
That's not scary, right?
Yeah, that would be scary if I was the opposing team, but I can't wait to see the kind of mayhem this group creates on the defensive front this year. And it also has me wondering, how will the rookies perform? What do you guys think? Well, USA Today gave their thoughts on the Eagles rookies as they think Nolan Smith will have 5 sacks and 3 tackles for loss, saying yet another Georgia Bulldog in the first round for the Eagles to round out an incredibly talented unit. While Nolan Smith was not the most productive player during his time at Georgia, he was very clearly one of the most athletically gifted pass rushers in the class. Smith's potential is just begging to be unlocked, and with teams double teaming other players, he may find his production early. I could see that, and that's about the number I have him at for sacks, but I feel like the stats won't tell all the story on Smith. Are you guys over or under on 5 sacks for Smith?
I'll be taking over.
Oddly enough, USA Today has Jalen Carter projected for 5 sacks as well to go along with 8 tackles for loss, which seems low, especially since they say Carter was the best defensive player in the draft, and he's going to pair extremely well with last year's first-round pick and Carter's Georgia teammate Jordan Davis. Expect Carter to get playing time early, and he should be productive in disrupting the pocket along a dominant Eagles defensive line. I mean, 5 sacks isn't completely disrespectful, but I think Jalen will be closer to 7 or 8 sacks. But what's your number for the sacks that the Breadman will rack up this season? While we're talking projections, Inside the Eagles took a look at 28 players who are in a contract year to predict who will play for that contract renewal. Don't worry, I'm not going to read 28 names. They picked out names of impactful players with a little extra motivation because, as most of us know, career seasons strangely seem to happen on a contract year.
I don't believe it.
At the top of the list of motivated players is Dandre Swift, who will almost surely have a phenomenal season if he can stay healthy behind this O-line. Remember, it is worth pointing out that Jeremy Fowler of ESPN had reported the Birds would be getting an extension done before the season starts, but that doesn't necessarily fit the bill of what Howie Roseman does. The next player on the list is running back Rashaad Penny. I know several of you have asked why we haven't heard more about the RB, and I think it has to do with the fact that he's not necessarily a pass-catching back, so while you're doing 7-on-7s, he doesn't really have the ability to showcase his skill set until training camp or, quite honestly, even the preseason. He has been overshadowed by the acquisitions and some draft picks and everything else, but I think this is the guy that will lead the team in rushing by a wide margin if he can stay healthy. But that's a big if. Although, we're not asking him to be the bell cow running back, so adding Kenny G and Boston into the mix should keep all the backs fresh and healthy. The next players listed are the ones battling for the wide receiver 3 spot in Quez Watkins and Olamide Zaccheaus.
What did you say? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I said...
What?
It seems like Philly is content to watch this one play out and roll with one of these two for the wide receiver 3 spot. I think it'll be Quez, and I'm with Sirianni and Jalen that I think and pray that he'll turn a corner this season. The other offensive player with something to prove in a contract year is Dan Arnold, but Dallas Goedert is the clear-cut starter, and Arnold will be lucky to get 2 targets per game. However, Inside the Eagles says, expect timely catches during important situations, 1 or 2 wow moments, and 2 or 3 TDs. Couple that with his blocking and willingness to do the dirty work, Arnold will make this team and prove to be a nice acquisition. Arnold is a guy I'm intrigued to see in action. He definitely showed some things in OTAs, but obviously that's a small sample size. He'll get some competition from Grant Calcaterra, Jack Stoll, and possibly even Tyree Jackson, but it does seem like Arnold could come in and be solidified as the tight end too, especially with his blocking ability, and he was an above average pass catcher last season, albeit it was with limited opportunities. The final name here is safety Terrell Edmunds, and despite the fact that some are expecting little from the newly acquired safety, everything from the Pittsburgh Steelers contingent states they were sad to see him go. We aren't expecting splash plays like CJ Gardner-Johnson provided. We are, however, expecting the every down consistency that CJ didn't provide. I'd agree with that sentiment, and like they say, slow and steady wins the race. It may seem like reliability is boring at times, but having a veteran presence in the middle of the field wouldn't be a bad thing. I'm still one of those crazies who thinks Sidney Brown will play his way into a starting role before the end of the season, but only time will tell. What do you guys think about those names? Are there any others we should add to the list? Congrats again to all of those who got tickets yesterday. If you want a chance at winning game tickets to a regular season game this year, check out one of the live shows every Wednesday night, tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern. Hope to see you there. This has been the Philly Special.